Have you ever looked at a simple green leaf and wondered about its secret life? I certainly have. We walk past them every single day, these little green factories quietly working away. They soak up the sunshine, drink a little water, and breathe in the air we breathe out. In return, they give us the very oxygen we need to live and the food that powers our world. This amazing process is called photosynthesis, and it's all driven by sunlight. But what if it wasn't? What if plants could use something else, something far stranger and more powerful to make their food? It's a wonderfully weird thought, isn't it? Let's get a little bit sci-fi for a moment. Imagine a world entirely different from our own. A world where the familiar, gentle glow of our sun is replaced by a different kind of energy. What if, instead of basking in visible light, plants on some distant planet, or perhaps even here on Earth in a far-flung future, evolved to use X-rays? These are the same invisible rays that doctors use to see inside our bodies, to check for broken bones. They are incredibly high energy, a far cry from the soft warmth of a sunbeam. Before we can imagine a world running on X-rays, we need to appreciate the miracle that happens every second of every day, right here on Earth. That miracle, of course, is photosynthesis. The word itself gives us a clue. Photo means light, and synthesis means to make something. Let's take a closer look at the humble leaf, the unsung hero of our world. Inside every single leaf are millions of tiny cells, and within those cells are even tinier green specks called chloroplasts. This is where the magic truly happens, where the energy of a distant star is converted into the energy of life itself. The reason sunlight is so perfectly suited for life on Earth can be explained by what we might call the Goldilocks Principle. The energy it provides is not too hot and not too cold. It's just right. The photons of visible light carry enough energy to excite the electrons in chlorophyll and kickstart the chemical reactions of photosynthesis. The story of photosynthesis isn't just about feeding plants. It's about fundamentally transforming an entire planet. As a byproduct of splitting water molecules to get electrons, photosynthesis releases oxygen. This event, which occurred around 2.4 billion years ago, is known as the Great Oxidation Event. Now let's turn our attention away from the gentle, life-giving glow of the sun and venture into a much more extreme part of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's time to talk about X-rays. Just like visible light, radio waves, and microwaves, X-rays are a form of electromagnetic radiation. Let's really compare the energy levels we're talking about here. It's a true mismatch, a battle between a feather and a cannonball. A single photon of an X-ray is not just a little more powerful, it's thousands of times more energetic than a photon of visible light. It carries so much energy that when it hits an atom, it doesn't just nudge an electron. It can completely knock the electron out of the atom altogether. The raw power of X-rays doesn't just pose a problem for capturing energy. It poses a mortal threat to the very fabric of life itself. When an X-ray tears through a cell, it leaves a trail of destruction in its wake. It smashes into water molecules, the most abundant substance in any cell, splitting them apart and creating highly reactive particles known as free radicals. So how could a plant possibly survive, let alone thrive, in a world bathed in X-rays? Our X-ray powered plant would need a leaf that was less like a solar panel and more like the wall of a nuclear reactor. This reimagined leaf would likely be incredibly thick and dense, constructed from materials that are much better at absorbing or deflecting X-rays. At the heart of our redesigned leaf, we would need something to replace chlorophyll. Our plant would need a new molecule, a hypothetical X pigment, capable of performing the seemingly impossible task of catching an X-ray. This molecule would have to be a true heavyweight champion of the chemical world, built on a foundation that could withstand energies thousands of times greater than what chlorophyll can handle. With a new leaf design and a new superpigment, the factory floor itself, the chloroplast, would also require a complete overhaul. Inside this X-chloroplast, the X-pigment molecules would likely be embedded within a dense crystalline matrix, not floating freely in a membrane. This would be less like a fluid-filled bag and more like an integrated circuit, with dedicated pathways for energy and materials. The radical changes needed for X-ray photosynthesis wouldn't stop at the cellular level. The entire architecture of the plant would be transformed. Plants might not grow up, but sideways, orienting their armored leaves like satellite dishes pointed directly at the energy source. The root system would also be profoundly different. functioning more like a mining operation, secreting powerful acids to dissolve rock and absorb the heavy elements needed. So what kind of animals could possibly live in our X-ray world? The herbivores of this world would need to be as heavily armored as the plants they ate. What about the predators that would hunt these armored herbivores? They would need to be even more specialized. The emergence of X-ray photosynthesis wouldn't just create new forests. It would fundamentally reshape the entire planet. The planet's surface would become a global-scale mining operation. The very color and composition of the planet's surface, when viewed from space, would be determined by the byproducts of this strange form of life. Let's weigh the scales. On one side, we have the incredible potential of a life form that can harness one of the universe's most powerful energy sources. However, this ultimate power source is undeniably a double-edged sword, and the other edge is lethally sharp. Living on X-rays means living in a constant state of self-inflicted radiation poisoning. When we compare the two paths, we see a clear philosophical difference between a life powered by sunlight and one powered by X-rays. Photosynthesis on Earth is a system built on subtlety and cooperation. In stark contrast, X-ray photosynthesis represents a system built on conflict and brute force. This thought experiment reveals why nature on Earth made the choice it did. Sunlight is not just an accident, it is the optimal solution. This safety and stability allowed life to experiment, to diversify, to create the countless beautiful and bizarre forms that inhabit our world. Our thought experiment has taken us on an extraordinary journey, far from the familiar green fields of Earth into a strange and violent garden powered by X-rays. As we conclude our journey, we are left with a renewed sense of wonder for the world right outside our window. So, the next time you see the sunlight filtering through the leaves of a tree, take a moment to pause. You are witnessing an act of quiet genius, a perfect partnership between a star and a planet.